All right, folks, so today Coros is coming in hot with a pretty substantial list of updates, including a redesigned app, new navigation features, including a new route builder. They're adding breadcrumb navigation to the Pace 2. They have an overhaul to the EvoLab platform, and to top it all off, they're actually announcing a new lower price for the Apex 2 and the Apex 2 Pro. So first up in this list of updates is the Coros app, which is getting a refreshed user interface. So with the previous version, we have the 4 tabs down here, and the first tab is basically a daily summary of all your stats for the day, like your calories, exercise time, steps, and heart rate. The next tab over is your workout history. Then the next tab is more of your historical and performance-related data. And then the last tab is where you manage devices. But now with this new app update, things are organized just a lot better now. So the first page is what they call the progress page, where it basically shows your daily stats like we saw before, like steps and calories, but now it also includes your historical and performance related data that was previously on the different tab. So now on this first page, it has your training load, training status, recovery time, as well as sleep and other metrics all in one page. And you can also pick and choose which cards you want to display, but it currently doesn't have the ability to rearrange the cards in whichever order that you like, but that is going to be something that's going to be coming later on down the road. But either way, it really is nice to see all this information consolidated on one page. And then the next tab over, that's basically the same as that we saw before. So that's your activity history, and really not much has changed there. But the next tab over, this is a big change, and this is the new Explore page for routes. So if we tap on this folder icon down here, here's a list of all the routes that are currently on your Coros account. And do note that if you have your Strava account connected to your Coros account, it'll sync over any routes that you have favorited on Strava, and they'll just automatically show up here. But then there's also this little pencil icon down here where it allows you to create a route based on different kinds of activities by just basically choosing different points in the map. So to get rolling, you just tap on any point on the map to specify a start location, and then you just basically start adding points, and it automatically tries to create the best route possible to that next point based on the kind of activity. And then they also have this eraser tool down here where if you tap on this, you can just erase the portion of the route that you want to remove. And then it also allows you to adjust this with a little bit more fine tuning. And I kind of really like this eraser tool a lot, as it's a bit nicer than just an undo button, which they do have, which just kind of deletes the last point that you added. And then another thing that you can do with this route builder is you can also add waypoints to your route with this icon down here. And then once you're done, all you do is just save the route, and there's your route in your library, and then you can sync that over to your watch. Now, in terms of how good it is at creating an ideal route, it's a little bit hit and miss for me. So most of the time it does create a pretty good route that I actually want to ride or run, but there are some occasions where it takes me kind of on some side streets where I'd prefer to take the main road, and vice versa. Sometimes it takes me on a main road where I'd prefer to take a bike path. But overall though, the routes that it's suggesting are pretty good, and I'm sure with more time and more people using this feature that they could actually likely use some of that data to create better and more desirable routes based on popularity. And then another feature with this Explore page is that you'll also be able to specify and save locations or specific points in the map. And what you can do here with these is that when you're building your route, you can just add a start point and then tap on one of these locations, and it'll automatically create the best route possible it thinks to get to that location. And then again, all you have to do to use these routes is just go to your route collection and then just sync over any routes to your watch. Simple as that. So that's the new Explore tab that adds quite a bit of navigation and route building functionality. But getting back to the app redesign, the last tab over here is going to be your profile settings, and where you'll also manage your device, training plans, workouts, as well as manage third-party apps. Now, one more thing I wanted to point out with this app redesign, which I think is a major improvement versus the older version, is that there was this kind of annoying thing that happened when you tried to view some of your data where it was switched to landscape mode, and this was like all over the interface. But now they've made it so, like here on the training status page, instead of switching to a landscape mode, it's actually a scrollable chart. And seriously, folks, this makes using the app so much nicer. But I did notice though that it still does that switching to landscape mode thing on the activity details page for stuff like your heart rate. And I did mention that to Coros, so that's something that could very well be updated in the future. And then the next big update they're announcing today is to their EvoLab platform, which basically analyzes your workout history to deliver metrics like your VO2 max, your threshold pace, and just like a general overall assessment of your running fitness, as well as a running race predictor for common running race distances. Now, with the first version of EvoLab, they had some pretty specific and possibly kind of challenging criteria for some folks to meet to populate all these EvoLab metrics, where it needed at least like 7 days of data with runs that were like on flat terrain with a stable pace and heart rate to get all this data. Like when it first came out, I actually had a hard time getting it to populate for a few reasons because I was running on some hilly terrain. My runs had heart rate that was all over the place. But most importantly, I actually wasn't even running all that frequently or doing long runs because I had an injury at the time. But now with EvoLab 2.0, their second version, they're reducing the requirements needed to populate all this data significantly, where now all you have to do is just go out on one 25-minute run with an average heart rate of over 60% of your maximum heart rate. And then another way to populate all this EvoLab data is to take their running ability test. Now, as you may have just noticed, my running fitness wasn't actually populated in that last screenshot because coincidentally, I'm actually recovering from yet another injury. So I haven't run much, if at all, in the last month or so, but I actually have been feeling a little bit better, and this was a good excuse to go out for a run. So how did it do in terms of estimating metrics like my VO2 max and the race predictor times based on just one run after quite a bit of time off? So here's where I just went out for basically the minimum requirements of what it asked for. A run that was just a little over 25 minutes long at an average heart rate of over 60% of my maximum heart rate. And there you go. It immediately populated the running fitness metrics. But in regards to how accurate those metrics are, though, with the much lower requirements, it's tagging me at a VO2 max of 51, which is a bit lower than my normal running VO2 max that usually hovers in the upper 50s. And then the race predictor times are closer to just more my normal training times versus my actual race times. And for comparison, these are the race predictor times that it had for me when I was in better running shape. But overall, though, not wildly off by any means, and somewhat realistic numbers based on where I'm currently at right now with my running. And I should also point out that those numbers also may be skewed by the fact that I also had an hour-long indoor bike ride right before that run, so I wasn't exactly fresh either. What I should also add, though, is that although it does require that first 25-minute run at above 60% of your maximum heart rate, any subsequent run, as long as it's longer than just what they say 30 seconds, which seems staggeringly low, by the way, is supposed to have an impact on your running fitness index. Oh, and then the other way that you can populate these running fitness metrics is that you can actually do their running fitness test. So what this does, it'll ask you to provide a recent 10K time. It'll then prompt you to perform the test on flat terrain, and then it basically guides you through different pace zones. And then after you're done, it'll populate all those metrics. And then the next update that they're announcing today is the Pace 2, where it's getting breadcrumb route navigation. So now in your device settings in the app, there's now this new option right here for My Routes. And all you have to do is click on this, and here's where you can add routes to your watch from your route library, and they'll just automatically sync over to your watch. And then on your Pace 2, when you go to start an activity, you just scroll down to settings, then navigation, and then there's all your synced routes. And then from here, you can view the elevation details of the route. You can choose to do the route in a forward direction or a reverse direction. And then you can also enable or disable the route deviation alerts if you happen to go off course. Now, the navigation on the Pace 2 is breadcrumb style navigation, which basically just gives you a line to follow, but do know that it's not like the navigation on the Apex 2, the Apex 2 Pro, or the Vertex 2, where those actually have built-in maps that give you a bit more context of your actual location. But even so, this is a really nice feature add to the Pace 2, which is already a great bang for your buck, and it's Coros definitely continuing that trend of adding features to devices way after they were launched. And then a couple other things to note is that the Pace 2 does have a 10 route storage limit on the watch itself. However, with the Apex 2, the Apex 2 Pro, as well as the Vertex 2, they've actually increased the route storage capacity on those watches, which was previously just 10 routes, but now you can store up to 30 routes on those devices. And then while we're on the topic of adding value, Coros is actually decreasing the price of the Apex 2 and the Apex 2 Pro, where when they first came out, it was $399 for the Apex 2, and then they're dropping that now down to $349. And then with the Apex 2 Pro, that was originally $499, and now it's $50 cheaper at $449. And then they're also taking $50 off the Kylian Jornet edition of the Apex 2 Pro as well. Now at this point, I know many of you out there who have already purchased an Apex 2 or Apex 2 Pro may already be writing something in the comments, but don't worry, Coros has actually thought about this. So Coros is offering anyone who's bought an Apex 2 or Apex 2 Pro before April 20th of 2023 with a credit that you can use on Coros.com to purchase, let's say, some accessories or something like that. So it's not like $50 back in your pocket actually, but I do have to give them credit here for taking care of all of you out there who have already purchased one of these previously. So overall, a pretty substantial update from Coros today, and you're basically just getting all these additional features without having to shell out anything extra, and heck, even giving you some sort of money back in a way with a credit for those of you who already have purchased an Apex 2 or Apex 2 Pro. Anyhow, if you have any questions about anything I didn't cover in this video, make sure to leave a comment down in the comment section down below. And on your way down there, if you found the information in this video useful, do me a favor and also hit that like button, and also subscribe to the channel for plenty more sports tech videos that are coming soon. In the meantime, happy running, and we will see you in the next video.